Okay, hi all. I'm Sam Rosenthal with Progressive Hub. We're here today with Congressman Ro Khanna from California's 17th. Congressman, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to jump right into it. We're talking about the current state of the Democratic Party. And I want to ask you, Donald Trump, we've seen over the last few months taking a sledgehammer to the federal government. He's victimizing the most vulnerable people in our society. But meanwhile, the Democratic Party is polling at its lowest favorability since about 1990, maybe farther back than that. And in the last election, it lost ground with one of its most bedrock constituencies, that is working class voters. And how do you think the party lost that support from the working class, and what can it do to get that support back?
We didn't do enough to deliver for working class Americans. We failed to deliver any increase in the minimum wage. I mean, I had called for firing the parliamentarian. We saw in Mexico where AMLO took the minimum wage from $4.65 a day to $15 a day. President Sheinbaum succeeded him. We didn't deliver on that. We didn't deliver on childcare. Childcare costs are soaring. We weren't able to do enough in terms of actual student loans. I know the president tried, but it wasn't sufficient. We didn't have enough of an agenda on turning around communities that had been hollowed out, like Johnstown, Lorraine, Youngstown. So I called for a new economic patriotism that centers and focuses on the economic independence and security of Americans in every part of this country, that should be our highest priority as a government.
Speaking of, you've been talking a lot about the need for a manufacturing boom here in the US. Currently, it's a policy area that I think we would say is very closely identified with Donald Trump, with the MAGA movement. Can Democrats do anything to own that issue, in your opinion?
Well, it was FDR who industrialized the country. I don't understand why we would give this away to Donald Trump, especially when NAFTA started under Reagan and Bush, as did some of the negotiations with China's ascension into the World Trade Organization. Now we have to call out our own party as complicity in getting NAFTA passed and having China into the World Trade Organization that hollowed out a lot of the country. But to rebuild a new industry, to rebuild steel, to rebuild semiconductors and ships and new types of manufactured housing, you need federal investment. You need to say, we're going to finance the factories, we're going to finance the workforce, we're going to buy things if you make it here. And just a blanket tariff policy is not enough. So absolutely, Democrats can propose a Marshall Plan for America, a White House Economic Development Council that finances the new types of factories that are needed.
Absolutely. Now, pivoting just to talk about the party for a second, we've heard recently a lot of revelations about Joe Biden's struggles in the White House and on the campaign trail during his ill-fated, ultimately abandoned campaign for re-election. What are the lessons you think the party should take away from the 2024 campaign?
Well, I should have listened to Norman Solomon, and Norman was out there penning op-eds saying, Biden, please don't run. I, of course, was a surrogate for President Biden, and once I agreed to surrogate, I supported him. But in retrospect, I took the word from a lot of people in his orbit, and we should have asked questions more. We should have pushed back more. The lesson I took is have more independence. Don't really rely on the old guard. Be willing to fight the old guard more. Now, I've done that when co-chairing Bernie's campaign, with speaking out for progressive policies. But it gave me even more of a sense that we've got to question and change the status quo, and that the old guard in this party needs to go.
And does that mean younger leadership, leadership with new ideas? What's your sense of sort of the old guard in this party and who they should be replaced with?
Well, I think it means getting new voices in there, new people who haven't been there a long time. Now, there are always exceptions, right? Bernie Sanders is the embodiment of the anti-status quo politician. So if you have been there challenging the status quo repeatedly, then you can be effective. But for the vast majority, they have been defenders of a status quo that has failed Americans. And so I would like to see both new voices, but also having those new voices question the current status quo and offer a concrete vision forward.
Speaking of Bernie Sanders and Bernie's campaigns, you say yourself that you started 2016 as a Clinton supporter. You pivoted to being a Sanders supporter in the middle of that cycle. Then in 2020, you were a co-chair of Bernie's campaign. Can you just tell me a little bit about what drew you to Bernie's policies, to his platform? And do you think that platform has a home in the Democratic Party today?
But to be honest with you, the first thing that drew me to him was that he was an outsider because I was running against the establishment in my own state in California, and I saw how machine dominated the state was. Everyone from the Speaker Pelosi to all the senators and the congressional leaders all endorsed against me, and it was very unwelcoming to new voices. And so I saw here's Bernie Sanders willing to say, let's change the system. That's honestly what first drew me to him. And he was saying, let's get money out of politics. And I had long taken a pledge not to take a single dollar of PAC money, lobbyist money. I remain one of 10 members of Congress who doesn't take a dime of PAC money or lobbyist money. That was the initial attraction. Then I saw that he was making total sense on Medicare for all. Healthcare is almost 20% of our GDP. It's a huge reason that businesses often offshore jobs. You have to pay almost as a business $25,000 to hire someone on healthcare costs. And it has created enormous hardship for so many people in our country economically. And of course, people have died because they didn't get the healthcare treatment that they wanted. And I thought that that made so much sense in solving this country's problems. So that's what really drew me into him. I didn't know much about him until he started to run for president. And I had supported Hillary Clinton first, I mean, like many people. But when I learned more about him, I started to support him.
Great. And speaking also about, money in politics, you've been outspoken on the issue of getting money out of politics. One of the things that we've been pushing at RootsAction and other places is for a ban on dark money spending, PAC spending in Democratic primaries. Do you think that would be a good idea for the party?
It should be a no-brainer. First of all, just pragmatically, wouldn't you want all those resources going to fight Republicans? Why are we fighting ourselves? And secondly, it would create the ability to win without being beholden to interest groups. And no one should have to rely on these multimillionaires to get elected to Congress. It compromises our stance as Democrats. So I would call for a ban on all super PAC spending in Democratic primaries. Summerlee and I have a bill to abolish these super PACs. It's not required under Citizens United. If people can be regulated in how much they contribute to my campaign, why should they not be regulated in how much they contribute to super PACs? So we would abolish these super PACs, and I really hope people can get behind that bill.
Great. Well, lastly, I just want to ask you, you've been supporting a petition to the Democratic National Committee that's been led by RootsAction, Progressive Democrats of America, that's calling for an emergency meeting of the DNC. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're supporting that?
I've supported it. I've spoken directly to our chair, Ken Martin, about it. Look, what's going on is chilling. Just 3 days ago, they're banning all international students from coming to Harvard. I mean, think about that. All foreign students banned. They could do this at other universities. They have fired 7 or let go of 7 of the 18 directors at the NIH, totally dismantling future medical research in our country. They have dismantled the FDA, firing people who approve new drugs. They are systematically firing people at the FAA. This is causing, as if you've flown through Newark or other places, issues on for our airlines. They're openly talking about defying United States Supreme Court orders. Vance has said, just defy the orders. They're calling universities the enemy. This is very chilling what is going on. And it's not enough for us to have individual responses. I'm out there doing my town halls in red districts. Bernie is inspiring the country with his oligarchy tour. But they're all individual efforts. We need concerted effort. We need a battle plan. And that's what an emergency DNC meeting would do. It would acknowledge the stakes. And it would say, here is our plan to make sure that They're not degrading and chipping away at every institution of American democracy.
Well, thank you, Congressman. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and thank you for leading the good fight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, section, just a huge moral voice in our democracy.
Thank you so much, and take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.